Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The guys are here, the chat is ready, and the conversation starts now.
What's going on, football fans? It's your boys back again live with another rendition of Pound for Pound ATL. We got a full house in here tonight, joined by Toby and Mike, Big Mike Dub. What's going on, gentlemen? How are y'all tonight?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? What's going on, fellas? Listen, first and foremost, Happy New Year, gentlemen.
That's right.
It's good, man. It's good to see y'all. We all made it to 2022. I'm sure the, last 2 to 3 weeks for a lot of people has been a little bit weird, depending on where you are. But you know what? Listen, I got my boys here. We about to talk about, these Falcons. So honestly, man, it's long overdue. Toby D, looking good, man. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, man. Appreciate that, man. Hey, glad to see you, man.
Right.
We are so. If I can give you a hug through the doggone screen,
give you a virtual high five.
Visible one right now, but man, hey, I'm excited. Look, we got one more game left, right? And we might be watching Kyle Pitts break.
Oh man, how cool would that be?
Allows him to do it now. Somebody said, and I'm not gonna call his name, that if he breaks this record, should he be able to play, it's not gonna hold weight because he did it in 17 games instead of 14, like Mike Dippin. I ain't calling his name. Y'all know who it is.
Yeah, everybody should know who it is. And I'm on those type of things. If that's the route you're gonna go down, you might as well discount every record. You might as well go back through and say, okay, well, since they changed this rule, now the game's different. Since they changed that rule, now the game's different. You see what I'm saying? Like if you start playing that jazz, then you better discount Barry Bonds' home run record because he didn't do it with the same equipment or the same type training that Babe Ruth did. If you want to do like I always find those arguments to be as bad as well, you didn't beat nobody or you didn't play nobody. Well, you played who was on your schedule. You beat the team across from you. They had to play. You know what I'm saying? So
that's true.
I've never been a huge fan of those type arguments. Now, if you want to start breaking up records into categories, like say you want to do an era of football, say the 60s to the 80s, and say in that era, this guy did this, this guy did that. And then, if you wanted to break up records like that, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But if you ain't doing that, then don't worry about it. Because
well, somebody's gonna tell TJ Watt something then because he break Mike Strange record, sack record.
And if people want to talk about him, in that particular instance, he did it in 17 games. Well, they better remember he missed 2 games this year.
Yep.
So technically speaking, if he does it, he'll do it in 15.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
That you see what I'm saying? though? That's when you get into those splitting hairs. But anyway, that's talking about our Pro Bowl rookie record breaking rookie tight end that has definitely been worth the hype.
Yeah.
But back to the team as a whole, we went up to the frozen north. It was frozen. I mean, y'all saw snow on the ground up there. And actually, the score wasn't necessarily indicative of the fight that they put up.
Right.
But I was actually impressed. You had a good bit of your guys were on the COVID reserve list. Buffalo had gotten a good bit of their guys off the list. The score looks like we got shellacked, but we were actually in that game up until the fourth quarter. So, I ain't mad at him in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? One thing I'll say is I think one thing about the Bills game, it looked a little bit eerily similar to the Chiefs game last year. I'll tell you why. Just because it was the game for me where I looked at the Falcons defense and I said, man, we could put something together. If we could continue to get turnovers, like when you see Foyer Luakon and you see AJ Terrell just, making plays, right? It's what we always hoped that we would see at the same time. Because again, Josh Allen is that's a playoff team. That was a team that was fighting, giving everything they had, and he threw 3 picks in a crucial game, for that team. So right. I think, it leads me to believe that this is going to be an interesting offseason because Dean Pease has got some players that he can work around, but it just leaves you a little bit frustrated because it's like, man, those, just think about it, 3 consecutive drives, 3 turnovers. That always sticks out to me. Like it always does.
You ain't doing that stuff by fluke,
Right.
And if I read it right, the Falcons actually have the longest active streak of games with turnovers.
12 games.
Yeah.
Wow.
12 games in a row, you've had a turnover. And so that had me curious, and I went back and looked at like interception numbers and like forced fumble numbers from last year to this year. And I ain't gonna lie, I was expecting to see, I don't remember us having a ton of interceptions last year, but as of right now, we have the same amount of interceptions last year as we do this year. So that's a little bit of revisionist history on my part. Obviously, we had 12 interceptions last year. So far this year, we got 12. Turnovers, we're actually 2 behind from last year in the same amount of games. We had 15 this year, 17 last year. So we'll see how it ends up. But, they're right on par. But they just seem to, I don't know, it just seemed to come more steadily this year than it did last year.
Yeah.
So, but now what's y'all's thoughts on the controversial no touchdown run by, taunting call by, look, if a play like that doesn't encapsulate the Falcon season in a play, but B, like, I can't see how you could watch a play like that and not think that MR2 ain't got some heart. Like, because, he gets up running his mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff everybody's like, oh, he ain't got enough fire. Well, there's fire for you. And he gets a flag for his efforts.
Okay, I don't want to be a smarty on this, but I will say this: the intensity that I saw from Matt Ryan on that play, I would have liked to see it in Game 3, Game 2, Game 3. If I'm honest, I would have said, because I feel like he started the season just a little bit like, and I see what I've got, right? But I honestly, you can't really fight a guy for the passion. You can't really fight a guy for the call, because I really feel like, honestly, it was a bad call. Like, I feel like it was really a missed call. I feel like now, was it the play that really lost the game for us? I would say no. There were some other plays just mixed in there. But honestly, I think that was just Matt Ryan almost just letting his frustration out for pretty much the season. Everything that we have
actually seen his frustration leak out quite a bit, because you gotta figure, for the first time probably in his career, he probably feels alone over there. Like, he ain't got Jones, you ain't got Roddy, you ain't got Gonzalez, you ain't got Mud Duck, you ain't got Harvey. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got to be one of the first times in his career he probably feels like he ain't got a guy in his corner. Maybe Jake Matthews, but outside of that, you look around and you're like, man, I ain't got nothing here.
Yeah.
So that's going to play into, that's going to be interesting and play into the off season as well. But like, I've seen a handful of times, like, him getting in O lineman's face and, like, showing that frustration.
Yeah.
Speaking of guy in this corner, let's go ahead and address the elephant, the big old fat elephant in the room.
It's over there.
I had his jersey on because I figured that might be the last time I wear it, but it was too glaringly glowing, so I had to take it off because you couldn't see anything but the glow from the number. But we got to talk about Calvin Ridley, because there's some speculation out there that him and this team, and we already talked about this before all this speculation came out, that it could be a situation where Calvin Ridley may be deciding that he wants to move on, and the Falcons are trying to keep it quiet, unlike the Julio Jones incident. That he wants to move on and go to another team and just wait till the off season to address it. What do y'all think about what Steve Weiss said on 92.9 The Game about that speculation?
I'll see. Give me your thoughts, Mike, and I'm gonna actually try to pull up the quote that he had. So,
well, I'll put it to you like this: it's tough because I think as a man, you know the type of competitor that Calvin Ridley is. Like, you know he's a competitor. You know he loves football, right? So it almost is getting to the eerie category for me a little bit, because a guy like that, this was a big year for him. This was a money year for him. I really feel like he could have, played himself into a good bit of money if it wasn't about the mental health, right? But right. I think that the willingness to still want to play football and need a fresh start, that's something completely different. That could have been addressed this year. You know what I mean? Like, if you just need time off from the game, that's one part of it. But if you need time off from the game and you don't want to be a part of this team, then, we might need to start talking return, because it's a business at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. It's a business at the end of the day. And if he wasn't happy here and he needed that time off, then honestly, we needed to start having those business conversations a little bit earlier, right? Now, all of that being said, I do think that, like, Calvin Ridley's time in Atlanta is done, but it's one of those things that I don't think most Falcons fans will cry later, because the crying was this year. It was like there was no Calvin Ridley. There was Kyle Pitts doing all of the Kyle Pitts things that he had to do. Honestly, and let's just keep it 1,000. Kyle Pitts won us probably 3 or 4 games itself. You know what I mean? Just right. With earlier in the season, some of the catches that he made late in games was just worth his weight in gold. Now, with Calvin Ridley, I really think this could have been a playoff team. Just honestly, with all of the lack of talent,
especially towards mid-season when Kyle Pitts really started to, come on and like show you the kind of threat that he was going to be. Like,
right.
Kyle Pitts broke those records and stuff, being the only threat on the field. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, he didn't have luxuries of, one-on-ones, so to speak, or what I'm getting at is, like, he drew the best coverage every time because he was the only one they were worried about.
Yeah. And I'll go a step further. I think if you look at the receivers, all of the other receivers, none of them ever were a number one receiver in college. None of those guys. All of those guys were complimentary guys. Right. It was either get the ball to your rookie, force feed the rookie with double coverage, or else. And I'll be honest with you, I saw some very Julio Jones-like plays, young Julio Jones-like plays out of Kyle Pitts this season. So it's like, we know what we have now. I don't even think we really appreciate what we have yet, because it's just weird. It's just I still haven't really grasped the concept. When I see a guy like that, that's a tight end or a receiver that can, stiff arm a safety, Micah Hyde, which is a pretty good safety, right? That's a safety that's been in the league for a while, right? Stiff arm a guy like that. And what I like about him is I follow him on social media is when you look at his Instagram, it's like there's not another me. Like, his confidence is something that I think has grown tremendously. Like, that's going to be a good thing for us for just years to come. Anyway,
I got the quote pulled up from Weiss from it says this is from Dukes and Bell's Twitter account. It says, asked if Calvin Ridley's future with the Falcons is in jeopardy, Weiss tells Mike Bell and Carl Dukes, this is a quote, "I think so. The fact that he and the team have been so quiet and he hasn't surfaced, it appears like both sides could be looking for a fresh start." Now, that seems like a lot of like speculation in that quote, but the fact that he felt comfortable enough to say that tells you, lets you know that there is a smoking gun, so to speak. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And the fact that, somebody of Steve Weiss's caliber, who is connected well to the team and the NFL Network and just the NFL in general, felt comfortable enough to say that on record. These guys, when they're in those positions, don't mince their words and don't, say things flippantly, because they know everybody's hanging on what they say, because that's our only insight. That's our only in until things become absolutely public. That's the only like little nuggets that we get, and they know this. So if he honestly felt like, oh well, it is, it is what it is, so to speak. Like he could have used much different phrasing than what he did, and that's something that honestly, as we've been doing this now since 2016, I've become real accustomed to like reading between the lines, so to speak, like sifting through the sands and to see what people are actually willing to say and what they're not willing to say, and the things that people are willing to say are, bless you, are very telling. That's like last year with Jones and the Shannon Sharp thing. You can't tell me that he didn't know that he was on air, or that he didn't know what he was fixing to say was going to get out. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys that have been in this business this long, they know, So that's why a lot of times what they say does become important. All right. Well, I've like mentally like lost my train of thought there for a second. Where y'all ever have that happen to you? Like your brain just almost locks up. It's like you're shifting gears,
Daily.
and it's like anyway.
Every day.
Mind is focused. Like you have to really focus real hard. But I do have something to say on that because Ricky, and I said this before. I believe that Miami game was a turning point for Calvin Ridley.
Oh yeah.
He already wasn't focused most of the season, and he almost ended his season during that game. Y'all remember that he got sandwiched in between both safeties, and I could have sworn that was it for Calvin.
Yeah.
He was done for the season. It was over. And it was after that game, before the next game, where he says he needs to take a break for his mental health because he needed to save himself to be able to possibly play for another team and not be hurt. I mean, they only picked up his fifth-year option, which is not a long-term contract.
No.
And we talk about this. The guy's going to be almost 29 years old if you do give him a deal.
And that's the thing is, it's like that was one of the concerns about Ridley coming out of college, is that he was a little older. You overlooked it because, he was as polished as he was. And you saw that his rookie year, and you felt like you were only going to have to, like, I would think business-wise, you thought to yourself, well, I'm only going to have to give him one contract, kind of thing. And so all that stuff is like, okay, you felt good about drafting him. But the deal is, if you can find a trade partner for him, that's going to free up about $11 million in cap space, which is not an insignificant amount for a team that's going to be trying to figure out how to sign some players. Because if I'm not mistaken, you got 29 players who are going to be free agents next year or here in about 2 months.
Right.
Yeah.
2.5, like beginning of March, when the new league year rolls over, you're going to be down 29 guys. That's a lot to fill. So you can't just rely on your draft picks because you only got 9 of them. So if you got a guy who you're pretty confident don't want to be here, whether it's because, well, you need to tell people to quit tickling you over there, Mike. Tell the wife to put the pepper down.
Jeez.
Like,
I don't know if it's pepper somewhere. I'm like, I can't stop sneezing. Jeez.
Somebody done let a cat in and you allergic to cats. That's what it is now.
I don't know, man. I'm allergic to the Saints. Anyway,
Oh,
that's
no,
later in the show.
we'll get into that. That's enough to make you sneeze right there.
Later in the show.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. But no, like, so it's a thing where if you got a guy, again, just like Jones, I don't want players who don't want to be here. Straight up. Like, I hate to say it like that. I hate to sound like that. I know me and Toby a lot of times get accused of being homers or whatever you want to call it, like putting certain players first. No, sir. I'm a fan of this team. That's what I'm a fan of. If you don't want to be on my team, I don't want you on my team. Like, that's just how I see it, So if you can get a second rounder for him, because I don't think you'll get a first, and that's only because whoever you're trading him to only has a year left. Unless they absolutely know they're going to re-sign him, I don't think you'll get a first. You might get a second. More than likely, it'll probably be a third, I would imagine. But if you can turn, Calvin Ridley's like disgruntledness into a draft pick, then you got to do it at this point.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this though, don't discount those old Miami Dolphins. That might be a team that does snatch up a Calvin Ridley because they got a lot of draft capital coming in next year, and anyway, but you know what? It could be smoke and mirrors. I think he could have taken this time off, and he could be back in Heats of Falcons next year. And if he is, good.
Right.
But yeah,
it
ain't looking at exactly.
But I'll tell you this: it is telling to me when the team's website had T-shirts marked down to $5, like Nike Calvin Ridley T-shirts. Yeah. They only mark down that kind of stuff for players who are gone.
Yeah, that's a telltale sign. Yeah,
so
sure.
Whether they did it on purpose or not, it's things I know as I frequent the sales section of the Atlanta Falcons website. Hey, look, swag don't have no season. You know what I'm saying? It ain't out of season. It's just swag. Yeah.
You listen to him, man.
That's right.
Listen to him.
Well, that is our opening salvo. So let's go ahead and jump into the chat before we get into the upcoming hate week, as they like to call it. So let's dive in head first. Daquan Patton says, "What's up, fellas? Finally able to catch you guys live. Man, I'm glad you are here, sir."
Salute.
Jaden Scheffler's here. What's going on, Jaden? Same thing with Tavares Raven and Joshua Mulvaney. I always want to say Joshua Mullaney, which I think is like a comedian. Anyway, no, it's John Mulaney. Anyway, sorry, that's a complete utter sidetrack. Bug says happy 2022. That's right, and we are so glad that y'all are here with us. Joseph Thornton says, "What's up, pound for pound? My greatest pleasure is sending the Saints home." We're gonna get into all of that.
Yep.
Woon Carter says, "Rise up, pound for pound family. Happy 2022." He says, "Let's beat the Aints and ruin their playoff hopes." Site PDW says, "Hey guys, sorry I missed the last few streams." That's all right, man. Hey, life is life, He says, "Keep your head up. This season is a complete win. We weren't expecting to be in the hunt up to this point of last week, which we did get officially eliminated. So all the folks who were hoping for every crazy scenario, that's done." He said, "So I'm happy with this year and our new coach." Yeah, I mean, there's some positives we can talk about, but then there are some concerns that we could talk about. It's not all perfect. Willie Doc says, "Hey, pound for pound family." Willie, man, I'm glad you're in here.
Willie.
CK22 says, "How long have we had a 16-game season?" He said, "That's about how long it took for any of us to break the record." Right. I think 16-game season, been since the 80s, 70s, 80s?
Yeah.
It's been around for a while. So,
yeah.
Matt Jones and Millie Mills is in the house. Same thing with Nick Bongolo. Says, "Finish strong, bring that momentum into next year." Momentum's a fickle thing. We never could carry it over with Dan Quinn. So,
right.
There's some history there that might not actually be momentum being worth anything. Site says, "We don't know yet. I don't think Pitts is going to play, unfortunately. He didn't practice today. But I will say this, if it's breaking the record or keeping him healthy, I'd rather keep him healthy myself.
Keep him healthy.
That's far more important. I think so. And plus, and I hate to say it, like, it would not surprise me one bit if he's out there dinged up, if, you're playing a rival, they may be wanting to send a message for future seasons kind of thing. So, anyway, if he's hurt, he needs to sit out. That's way more important. Our own Michael Walker says, "Fellas, what's going on?" Michael, glad you're here. Same thing with Chris Jameson says, "Matt Ryan is a big Ducks fan. Trash talking to Pryor. I'm guessing Pryor maybe played for a rival of the Ducks. That's an inside joke. But I don't think a guy who played for Boston College is a Ducks fan. And just, my thought there. Let's see. Keep rolling. Superstar VFR says, "I'm not buying the mental health, but not at all." Talking about Ridley. But hey, he made sure Kyle Pitts' first year was better. I don't know. I think it could have been better had Ridley been on the field. I think you would have seen more Pitts touchdowns, in my opinion, had Ridley been there and been a threat. Let's see. Billy Mills adds that he became unhappy after number 11 left. So, bye, go be with your daddy in Tennessee. Oh, man, that's a little harsh there now. I will say this, though, something I did think about that did cross my mind.
Oh,
He
man.
did see a model of how to get out of Atlanta, if that's what he wanted to do with this regime. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. R. Smith L says Kyle Pitts was a great choice for us in last year's draft. He's definitely a major building block moving forward. And that was a point that me and Toby and Mike and everybody had made. You know, we all admitted that we were about 2 years too soon for a quarterback. Like, you would have hoped in that sense, like you could have had this 2 years from now. But you didn't, so the next best thing is you get a security blanket in who can learn, like, from a pro quarterback and then be able to help transition in a new quarterback, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, tight end is a quarterback's best friend.
And as we talk about that quarterback a little bit,
We're going to.
Uncle Smith might have gave a little hint. We may not be drafting one next year either, but go ahead.
Willie Doc tipped us $5, which we appreciate, Willie. He said, first time in a long time we had meaningful football in December. What one thing will propel the Falcons into the playoffs next year? A revamped offensive line.
Ooh, yes, Lord.
Period.
Yes.
You go back and watch the games where the offense, even with depleted as they are in the skill position, was able to mount some kind of production. It's the same games where the offensive line played halfway decent.
Right.
So it's as simple as that to me. If you're bringing back Matt Ryan next year, then you got to fix this offensive line.
Well, and I guess for me, you know, while we're talking about it, for me it is the trenches, and
Yeah.
I completely agree. Only thing I'll add is defensively, if you can please get me a pass rusher for that number one corner that we got in AJ Terrell. Honestly, the stats back it up. Think about how good his coverage is with no pass rush.
Right.
Like, we're dead last in pass rush again. I think we pretty much have round about the same amount of sacks we had last year, maybe less. You know what I mean? So
Less, I believe.
less, yeah, exactly. Right?
While you're
So,
talking, I will get you that information, Mike.
yeah, because so for me it's pretty simple. Like, we got to get pressure, like legit put some time into getting some pressure to the quarterback,
Right.
in some kind of way. Because again, we got some decisions. You got Foy. Foy is top of the league in tackles, but
that ain't even a debate. He getting re-signed by the Falcons.
yeah, but see, the thing about it is, it also speaks to the fact that as far as one of our leading tacklers, the trenches is horrible. Like, you know, we just. It's a lot of people, a lot of linemen getting blown off the ball, getting blown back. But again, I just think like Stephen Means was exactly what we said he was. I hate to just pile on Stephen Means. We've done it enough. We put him on the milk carton, but Stephen Means was exactly who we thought he was when we re-signed him. So
and we let him off the hook.
Boy,
We kept on the hook. You kept on that milk carton for as long as we could.
I don't know if y'all want to hear this or not.
Go ahead.
As of this past game, the Atlanta Falcons have a whopping 17 sacks.
Woo!
Last year, you finished the season with 29 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think we're going to hit that mark, Mike. Unless something crazy like. We look like 17, 18. That's a lot of sacks they have to get against Tyson Hill to hit the. Yeah. So. Yeah, man, that's bad.
So, but think about that though. Quantify that for a second, right? That's the $5 word. Quantify that for a second. AJ Terrell, top 5 corner, right?
Oh yeah.
With 17 sacks. And he's covering for his life. He's covering probably 4 to 5 seconds on a play.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, which is a lot for a DB, right? So I would just say, Dean Pease, the defense has looked formidable at times. It's looked multiple. It's looked exotic, if you want to call it that, right? But again, we still have not put quarterbacks on the ground. Quarterbacks' jerseys are not dirty after they play us. And if they are, usually they still get the win anyway. So I think it's my thing is like we really got to put some love on that defensive line. Yeah, and honestly, so not to look ahead to the draft. It's some good edge rushers out there, but again,
you can look ahead now because we only got one more game.
Oh yeah, we might as well look ahead. Okay, here's a perfect time to put in a plug. Perfect time. You said if y'all get bored sitting on the pooper at work, wherever y'all might get bored at, y'all go ahead and scroll on over to p4patl.com. That's right. Your boys have finally launched a website and launched it in around draft time on purpose because a lot of times we get asked what our opinions are on this player or that player. So you roll on over to p4patl.com because I'm going to do this like a used car salesman. So you roll on over to p4patl.com and you look up at the top and you'll see a header that says player evaluations. If you're on your phone, it's 2 little lines up in the top corner. Hit that. That'll bring up the menu. Anyway, you look at player evaluations and keep checking it because we'll continue to add. Right now, the most is in running backs, which is where I started at. But I've done, a few defensive linemen. And as the draft goes on, we're going to keep working and keep filling it out. So, y'all head on over to, one more time, p4patl.com. And, like, my mock drafts will be there. Player evaluations will be there. That's probably where you're going to see, like, if we decide to start doing, like, video breakdowns, things that we can't necessarily do on YouTube because we get dinged for copyright kind of stuff. That'll show up there as well. Also, another small announcement to add to the housekeeping. Definitely keep an eye on the show because I know some of y'all may have seen it on Twitter, but we got full-on confirmation that pound for pound we'll have boots on the ground at the Senior Bowl. Both me and Toby D will be at the Senior Bowl live with media passes, getting y'all up close and personal access to whoever we can get access to. I may tackle Steve Weish and be like, "What do you know about Calvin Ridley? Tell me." But I mean, I don't think I'll tackle him. I'd end up in Mobile jail if I did that. But anyway.
No, we don't want that because I had to come to you out.
Yeah, no, right. I don't, yeah. You gotta keep your money, you know what I'm saying? But anyway. So that's 2 kind of bigger announcements. I wanted to do that in the middle of the show so that we call it the most people. Again, we launched a website, poundforpoundatl.com, and me and Toby D will be at the Senior Bowl live. That week we will be doing our live stream from the Senior Bowl. So it'll be provided we got good internet. Let me put it that way. Provided we got good internet, we'll be doing a live stream and we'll have content and all that kind of good fun YouTube-y type stuff. Anyway, all right, enough of that mess. We got people who are politely donating money to us. Saint Lornette tipped us $5. He says, "My guys, sight for sore eyes." He said he had a hell of a day at work. We're sorry to hear that. I'm glad you made it through it though. He said, "Y'all just made my day. Blessings, and may y'all's family have a safe and prosperous year." Brother, same to you. May the Lord cover you in blessings and place a hedge of protection around you and your family, man. Because we're going to need it as we continue to move throughout this year. Fred Butts
and support the Falcons. I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
Go ahead, Fred Butts.
I don't know if God cares about the Falcons, to tell you the truth.
Woo, but that's a show for itself.
I'm just saying. It's football. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he cares much about football. Now, Fred Butts tipped us $2. He said, "I was wrong, guys. No playoffs." Fred, it is okay. You ain't got to be wrong. It's all right, my man. Look, I look forward to
optimism.
Your optimism every time we get on the show.
Every show.
So don't sit here and apologize that they didn't make it. They didn't make it. It's all right. I'm just glad that you had hope and faith all the way through, because I lost it after about the second preseason game. Oh.
much.
Whew, boy, yeah,
That
that
was
was
bad,
rough.
dude.
Yeah.
Man,
Man, you know, you brought, oh God, man, JR, why did you bring that back up? I forgot about that. I forgot about
Look,
the
I went and watched it live, and I was looking at that O-line going, we are in trouble. And I was not wrong.
Yep, we were not wrong at all.
I was hoping I was going to be wrong. I really was hoping, but we were not wrong. Let's see. We're going to scroll back on up because I jumped some comments here. Let's see. Joshua says this year proved we could be somewhat competitive without Ridley. Get some picks or whatever you can get for him, and move on if you don't want to play. That's the deal, you know. And I hate to be like cold-hearted like that, but I was also cold-hearted like that with Matt Ryan. If you're gonna make that much money, fine, take the hits. You know, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
So throw the ball away more. Maybe don't hold on to it so long. I don't know. You wouldn't have.
That's another show.
Oh no.
Boy,
we're going to get into all that. As this all season goes on, we're going to get into all that. Y'all don't sit here and think that I think it's all on the O-line. I mean, there is compounding issues, as it always is. Let's see. Tony Wright says, what's popping, fellas? What's going on, Tony? Glad you're here. He says, yes, if we could trade Calvin Ridley for a second-round pick and trade Deion Jones for a third. See, like when you start doing all that, if we could trade him for this and for that, you got to find somebody who wants to take him. I think Deion Jones, as much as we've been bagging on him this year, he's suffering from a position change. Like, to me, like that's one of the biggest issues right there. You know. Let's see. Any of y'all's opinion on Deion Jones?
Yeah, go ahead, Big Mike.
I mean, you know, I'm a little bit 50-50 on Deion Jones for the simple fact that, like, we've played a lot of losing football with him on our team. And it's not his fault. It's not completely Deion Jones' fault. But I think that, you know, what we expected out of the rookie who was so sensational as a rookie, took, you know, on the Super Bowl run, all of that kind of stuff, and where he is now, I think that, you know, like you said, that position change wasn't kind of him. All of the coaching change, all of that type of stuff. And Deion Jones actually has played really good football this year. Let's just put it out there. Like, he hadn't played amazing football, but I think he's been okay. You know, he hadn't been elite, you know, top 5 linebacker football, which I think should be his ceiling in the right type of situation. But we got bigger problems than Deion Jones right now. You know what I mean? It's almost like, yeah, he could go somewhere else. And I mean, if he went somewhere else, it wouldn't make or break this defense. No. But you know, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on him. So I just leave it at that.
I want to say this much. Looking at some of the guys that have been on this team, you've seen some disgruntled looks. Yeah. Where it are feeling a certain disconnect. And to me, Grady Jarrett is one of them. There has been times he has not been able to hide the looks on his face with how things have gone with this organization, and especially this year. And Deion Jones too. I mean, you took the man's position of being the mic away from him, right? And he excelled at that position under Dan Quinn. I mean, it's where he had the most turnovers, and you basically kryptonited him, right? You know, a Poirier who has looked wonderful, and he's going to be a cheaper signing option when the Falcons take care of that contract next year, right? But Markel Walker has been a bright spot for this team, and given the Atlanta Falcons an option if they have to trade Deion Jones, that they have a guy that is ready and has the prototypical 3-4 body type to play in this defense. Him and Poirier, I think, I said, but him and Poirier could be a match. I mean, 4 interceptions between those two guys, and he's the one who tipped the ball up so that Poirier is right there to get it.
Yeah, they play thumper football. Both of them play thumper football. I think Deion Jones gets a little too lost in the block sometimes, especially for this defense. That you know, that might be something we might have to look at in the offseason. You know, so it's like when you think about, you know, Deion Jones for a 3rd round, something like that, it's like, now if we were able to get Deion Jones for a 3rd round, let's not forget we still have another 2nd round, I believe, from the Titans, from the Julio Jones situation as well. Again, then you're looking at, okay, retooling this team through the draft. And let's be honest with you, for as up and down as this season has been, the draft picks all played a role at some point, whether it was good or bad. Jalen Mayfield, good or bad, played a role on this team. Like, of course, Kyle Pitts played a role on this team. Richie Grant, as the season went on, played a role on this team.
Right.
Like I said, these are a lot of guys that have stepped up. And Dahlman, who knows? With another year, could he be our center next year? I would feel a little bit more comfortable with him as opposed to Hennessy. I don't think either one are the long-term answers, but the draft plays such a critical role to this team. So if we're able to lock up on draft picks, then that might be where we need to go. Now, how does Matt Ryan feel about that? I don't know.
Yeah, like we can get into that here in a minute, but the deal with draft picks, like you have to find teams willing to trade for them, right?
Right.
Is it a Gus Bradley wherever he's coaching defensive at, like that he runs a similar style to Dan Quinn? Would he like a Deion Jones type linebacker? Dan Quinn down there in Dallas, like he's intimately familiar with Deion Jones. Could he convince him with the way they've been using Micah Parsons? Hey, this Van Der Esch kid, he's not really what I'd like. I'd rather have my guy. You see what I'm saying? Like the biggest issue is going to have to try to find a trade partner, obviously.
Right.
For any of these. But if somebody comes calling, I'm not saying no.
Right.
Even
I don't. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Even at this point, like with as crazy as this next statement may sound, like say a team like Washington or Denver comes calling for Ryan. If they come with multiple first round picks, and yeah, fine. Because at this junction, the way I'm looking at it, it's going to be hard pressed for you to turn this team around to be a complete championship team in time before Ryan retires. I mean, that's just being realistic. Like I could be wrong, and I will gladly eat crow if I am wrong, because that means we won something, but as I look at the way the roster is constructed, the amount of holes that we have, and how long it tends to take to, like, if we had Jacksonville's type cap, or who's another high one? I think it's I can't remember right off the top of my head. I know Jacksonville's way at the top. If we had that type cap space, then rebuild this team through free agency and the draft, and throw it all in, do like what LA's doing out there, and try to buy yourself a championship.
Yeah.
But there's too many holes, and we ain't got the cap. It's just plain and simple. So at this point, what I'd rather this team do is start building this defense to be a championship defense, so that by the time we have our new young quarterback, it's not all put on his shoulders. It can be like a Russell Wilson up there in Seattle. Rely on a defense for the first few years as you're trying to get it underneath your feet. Because we've seen time and time again, if you're relying on a rookie QB to come in and take your team to prominence, it tends to fall on their face. Like if the rest of the team isn't stout.
Yeah.
So, like for me right now, if guys like Grady don't want to be here, guys like Deion don't want to be here, give me what you can get for them.
Yeah.
I need Terry Fontenot to be the ruthless executive like, Belichick tends to be. Trade him a year too soon, then keep him a year too long.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Terry Fontenot already admitted before the season started that the first couple of years they want to have to kick the can down the road. The question is, whose cans are you going to kick down the road this year? Because you're going to be in a similar situation with a little bit more cap, but you're going to be in a similar situation where you got to fill this roster out with about 30 more guys on the roster at the end of the day, and you're going to have to do a similar situation. So, which direction? To me, man, if the Falcons could get about 11 draft picks, because they're going to need that again. They're going to need another big class again in order to fill this roster out. They took all nine. They drafted all nine in 2021. They're gonna need another, to me, 9 to 11 picks again this draft. And if you're gonna do it, I think this is the perfect draft to do it.
It's a deep draft at a lot of different spots.
Yeah.
And also, you don't if you hang on to Ryan, like this isn't necessarily the draft to be taking a quarterback unless you're absolutely 100% sure that the guy you're drafting is going to fit what you want to be done. And I want to state it like that because I think that you can get good quarterbacks in almost every draft. Like it depends on the situation they go to and go in, whether they're successful or not. Because during the draft cycle, didn't nobody want to think about or consider Mac Jones? We're one game from finishing the season. Who's the best rookie quarterback?
Mac Jones,
Why?
hands down.
Why?
Ooh, don't you say nothing like that.
But
To get us shot.
But the reason why is because he went to a team that was already in a good position. You had all these players coming back. You had the coaching staff in place, and they went out and spent over $100-something million in guaranteed money in free agency. Like he was set up to succeed. Where on the exact opposite, guys like Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields were handed a pile of crap and say, what can you do with this? I can throw it away if you want me to. I can go get a doggy bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we wonder why some of these QBs like flame out. Like for Justin Fields, they've already said they ain't bringing back Nagy, which is probably good, but you probably shouldn't have. Yeah. You probably should have done that at the end of the season before.
Right. Exactly.
So, anyway,
Hey, and I tell you what, talk about QBs. Arthur Smith might have gave away that they may not be thinking about drafting one next year either because he gave Felipe Franks a ringing endorsement today. And I'm talking a ringing endorsement.
You talk about blow my mind away on that one. Because I was like, I even said it out. I was like, I ain't trying to be dismissive, but like, what do you think he did well?
I tell you what he did well.
Throw interceptions?
Where they don't have to draft a QB in 2022.
You missed me on that one because, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. If you have no intentions of getting rid of Ryan, then yeah, sure, Felipe Frank's fine. I'm not drafting a quarterback. Him and Rosen can duke it out in the off season, and whoever don't win can end up on the practice squad as my COVID QB. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if the idea is like I got to do something and this ain't working, we're gonna move on from Ryan. You ain't putting in Franks, or at least if you are, don't buy a house in Atlanta because you won't be here long.
No.
See, I'm gonna say that I think this is one of those because you heard Terry kind of say this when he met Ryan for the first time in person at the hospital or whatnot, Emory. It's basically up to Ryan if he still wants to be a Falcon. And it's gonna be interesting to see in the offseason. Once they sit down and talk, depending on where the conversation goes, Ryan may be forced to make a decision on furthering his career with the Atlanta Falcons or moving on based on the conversation because what he basically got his donkey with. I can't say it on here because we got, young folks watching and whatnot, but he got hit more than any quarterback this year. Yeah. And you saw the frustration it was looming all year. I mean, you saw it.
I'll tell you this. Oddly enough, I was shocked to see that we've actually given up, provided we don't have another 5-sack performance, which is saying a lot. But if we don't have another 5-sack performance, we actually didn't break the 40-sack given up mark this year, which he had for the last 3 years. But once the season's all said and done, one of the things that I'm looking at is QB hits. Like, how many hits did he take? Because I know at one point in time it was floating around Twitter that he had been hit 92 times. So for a QB, you might as well say he'd been sacked 92 times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that'll wear on anybody.
Yeah. I guess as a kid, when I used to watch Brett Favre play, I used to think Brett Favre used to get hit a lot more than any other quarterback. I felt like he was always hurt. He always had some kind of nagging injury, right? But I think when you look at Matt Ryan and you look at the way Matt Ryan's been hit, like it's not far off from that, right? But Matt Ryan is just the ultimate professional.
Oh,
He
yeah.
doesn't really, complain. Well, probably does, but I'm sure, if you talk to his wife, I'm sure she probably knows that, like, you know what, he's sick of this, all right?
He's
I
probably
need to
like,
get
that
my
mother
husband
trucker over there.
get my husband some help. I'm tired of, he comes home, he's hurt this week, he's hurt that this week. But it's like, honestly, it really goes into, that's why I go in. I don't even really talk about Matt Ryan. I talk about Terry Fontenot. It's like, all right, Terry Fontenot, you have this job. What do you really believe for this team? Because I just, a year later, and we still see the way Thomas Dimitroff did this team.
Oh,
honestly,
dude.
like I hate to just throw blame around, but my goodness.
Look, it's okay. The way you say that, like it irked me so bad when they over here, like at that Dallas game, they're giving Dan Quinn the game ball. I'm sitting there going, he's the reason why we're like this.
And I guess like that's why I think about, like, if you're Arthur Blank, right? And you're just like, man, I've been a guy like that that's been successful at so many things, and it's like, not that most of the owners in the league have been successful at a lot of things, so they expect that their teams are gonna just be successful, but it's got to be frustrating for an Arthur Blank because they're talking to this guy, they're selling this guy on some sort of vision that honestly he felt like it was worth building another stadium. Not true enough, the stadium might have been around for years in the making, right?
No doubt.
It was before Dimitroff and Dan Quinn, but
yeah, he'd always wanted designs of having his own building.
I just feel like somebody got away with highway robbery because it's almost like we don't deserve this stadium. We have one of the nicest stadiums in the league, and it's one of the emptiest stadiums in the league.
Unless it's an MLS game, like that's the only time it gets full up.
Yeah, man. So I think Terry Fontenot, honestly, this is where I guess we can start to do a little bit of a retrospect when we look back on the year and we look at the moves that they made. Now, minus the Jalen Mayfield move, Frank Darby move might raise a few eyebrows because he didn't really do much this year. I mean, I think we got a sense of value from Terry Fontenot because we've got some buildable pieces, right? So this upcoming draft, I think is going to be, if it wasn't a Terry Fontenot, voodoo doctor, all that stuff that we talked, preseason this year, this past year is really this year. Because let's be honest, let's look at the NFC South, man. Let's just take a step back, take a step from being Falcons fans for a second. Another year. Now, don't get me wrong. The Bucs will be whatever they are. We don't know what the Bucs will be next year, Tom Brady or not, right? The Panthers are a show, right? They are a crap show on wheels. That's what they are. New Orleans, see, the problem is you got to watch a team like that because, they're in dire straits in the quarterback position, and they're a quarterback away from being formidable right now. If they get some of these guys that they're rumored to get, they could be. But let's just say they don't. Let's say they got the Taysom Hills, the Jameis Winston's coming back. Like again, we just got to get something on the field to compete. Like we literally, with Arthur Smith's play calling, Kyle Pitts being a monster, Matt Ryan just being a nitty gritty veteran, we shocked a lot of people, man. So all I'm saying is, if we get it right this year, there's a chance. This is where we start rebuilding hope because we had a lot of hope. We've had a lot of hope over the last couple of years. But
well, I tell you this, like y'all going for the first time in a while, y'all are probably going to hear a different tone from me in the off season. Not that I don't think that it can be turned around. Not that I don't think you can win because you can. But it's going to be a tall task. Like straight up and down. Like there's going to have to be some moves made that tell me that this front office and coaching staff have identified the problems that I have seen as well. And I for one do not think that I'm smarter than they are. So what I mean by that is if I'm identifying them sitting here in my house with my limited access to the information that they have, they better be identifying them. So there better be some O-line upgrades. There better be some running back upgrades. There better be some wide receiver upgrades. There better be some defensive line upgrades. Like, those week in and week out scream at you that this ain't, that this ain't up to snuff. So if they don't make advancements in that, then I will really start going, okay, I was wrong about this coach. I was wrong about this, and I'll admit it, because I probably stood on the table for Arthur Smith more than anybody else did. And so, but if they don't start making, I'll give them this year as an evaluation year. I'll even throw out the whole we're in win now mode, because you can kind of make an argument that they felt like they could at least be sniffing the playoffs, even with a busted up roster. And guess what? They were sniffing the playoffs with a busted up roster. Okay?
Yep.
So if you want to consider that to be win now, okay. I'll give you that one this year. But if you're really in win now mode, there's a bunch of moves and maneuvers that you're going to have to be making, and you better start making them. Because there was things you could have done last year that you didn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, dead up. Like you could have straight up and down, you could have extended Grady, re-signed Calvin. There was a handful, like you could have cut Tyler Davidson. There were a handful of things you could have done.
Could have not re-signed Stephen Meeks.
You could have not re-signed Stephen Meeks.
They were adamant with sticking with this roster, what they had.
Right.
They really wanted to go through the roster. So I'm going to give you that. Like you said, year one is evaluation year.
Right.
Year two to me is now you know what kind of culture you want. You got some guys you can build that culture on. Like, for example, Cordell Patterson is a guy you need to get more guys like him in this building. Positionless players, if you can find them, and the character that he brings to the team is the culture that you want.
Absolutely.
Like, if you want to me, if you want to pair like a little bit of like draft talk type stuff, and I even put this in my write-up, if you wanted to pair like in the draft, if you were to draft a James Cook out of Georgia, and you draft like let's say Kennedy Brooks out of Oklahoma, okay, and pair them with Cordell as being the elder statesman to like show them the way kind of deal, because I think James Cook could be your guy going forward, to be that positionless type player, wearing defenses out. But we got plenty of time to get into all that. We haven't spent much time in the chat today, so I want to get back into it. We left off where Fred Butts was apologizing, which he didn't have to, but we appreciate the $2 for you to apologize. Kristen Hook says, "Wow, I finally caught a live stream. Happy New Year's, pound for pound. I give Smith 3 years. You guys are right. We are the best of the worst. We're going to beat the Aints. We hope so, And just like with draft picks, 3 years, like, you better show some stark improvement in 3 years, Sanchez Deal says, who should we draft in the first round? The best defensive player available wherever you're picking. Whether it's a Kyle Hamilton, a David Ajobo. I'm
a little low.
That's cool.
I'm sorry. We'll get
We'll get into all that. We got months to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, I'll take my Georgia Bulldogs hat off. I'll take my Georgia Bulldogs hat off for a second, because Aiden Hutchinson and Ojabo, they struggled against Georgia. But again, that's another show. We can do a whole breakdown.
I'm about to say, I will say this: if we let those comparisons happen, we wouldn't have AJ Terrell right now, because he struggled against in that championship.
Jamar Chase.
Yep.
He struggled against Jamar Chase, but that ain't no fault to him, because Jamar Chase is a beast.
Exactly.
I couldn't.
Let's see. Tony Wright is man. Tony, I hope you email all this stuff to Flowery Branch, because Tony Wright comes in here every week with a plan. He's over here talking about now with these trades, you can do this and you can do that. Tony, you were awesome. And I hope you folks in here are reading Tony's messages, because he has got a plan. Ghost Pepper says, "Hey man, what's up, Ghost Pepper?" He said, "I'd get rid of Ridley for pennies on the dollar. Number one, he's mentally not here. Two, he's always nicked up. Three, he's old for going on a second deal." Those were all like the last ones was concerns. You know, you add that with the maybe not want to be here, then you have problems, right? Genuine Music says Dion needs to wrap up when he's tackling. Yes, these shoulder checking. Yeah. My God, I hate when.
You can get me started on that, boy.
I'll make it known to anybody and everybody. I ain't never tried to tackle a human being running full speed at me ever. I have really high self-preservation gene. Okay, it doesn't let me do things like that, right? But you signed up to do things like that, so tackle the man,
please.
Anyway, Millie Mills says, "What we gonna do with Hayden Hurst? Depends on how much money he wants. Depends on how much money. Because I would like to keep him, especially if you're keeping Ryan. Because I like what Hayden Hurst brings, and I think year 2 of Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts, especially if you fix the O-line, you could have what we envisioned in the offseason. Right now, you're having to use way too much of Lee Smith because the O-line can't hold up for nothing. So, for the right price, I'm bringing him back. But he is a former first-round pick. If he thinks he deserves a lot of money, he can go find that in Cleveland, I guess.
He's not getting a lot. I mean, unfortunately, he's not getting. I don't see him getting Austin Hooper treatment.
No.
I just
no, not at all. He doesn't deserve the Austin Hooper treatment. Honestly,
I think if we can afford him and he'll come in on a 1-year deal, I think we'll take him because we're gonna have to sign some 1-year deals. A lot of them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that again.
Right.
Let's see. Let's keep on rocking. NJ says we can get a guard from free agency. We need nasty playmakers on defense. Dogs. He says we need QBs to fear us. I am, at least at this junction, I am squarely in the fix the O-line through free agency camp. But that don't mean that I can't be swayed through the draft process. I know Toby has started to dive into the O-line. I haven't I haven't gotten there yet.
Eye on that name.
But I will say this, I was pretty high on what I've seen from Zion Johnson, the guard out of Boston College.
Yep.
Anyway, keep on keeping on. Let's see here. Superstar says, I do want to see Ryan with a ring. So wouldn't be mad if he went to Denver or Pittsburgh. I want to see Ryan with a ring win the red and black. Okay? Like, if he goes somewhere else, I don't care if he gets a ring or not. Like, that's just, it is what it is, That'll just means he couldn't have done it here, and I'll be upset by that.
I know, but we want to see Matt Ryan get a ring here because that old line already.
Oh, I wonder if he gave them all like the traffic cones for Christmas, the little traffic lights, air traffic, because that's what they've been doing. Anyway, that's what I'd have gave them if it was been me.
Did y'all see that whip of a block that Jalen Mayfield did? Oh
God.
Golly. Man, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Man, he had that defensive lineman teed up. That was an offensive lineman's wet dream. He had that man in his sights and could have just ran him over. And he missed.
Okay.
That boy Jalen, Jalen Mayfield is, sometimes when you watch this play, the only thing that you can do is go up, like it literally, because sometimes it literally don't get worse than that.
I want to know, where is that nasty mentality of Jalen Mayfield that we saw at Michigan?
It's still there.
It's still in Michigan? Honestly, he delusional. Right? It's delusional because he was talking about. I don't even think it'll be a game against UGA when Michigan played UGA last week. So I knew he was delusional. So I think that's what it is.
Is that what
I
it
think
is? He just left it in
Jalen
Michigan.
Mayfield, he left it in Michigan. It's in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
It's definitely not here in Atlanta.
Look, well, in the off season, he need to go back to Ann Arbor and find it.
Oh boy, please train.
Because my
I'm
God,
tell you right. If I'm Matt Ryan, I am barging in Arthur Smith and Terry Fox. No, y'all bring y'all A's here. I need to see y'all.
look,
If y'all ever bring that garbage up in front of me again, I am out of here.
Man,
That
listen,
was poor excuse
right.
block right there, man. That was the most terrible excuse blocking.
don't you know Cameron Jordan is like, please let me line up inside. Please let me line up. Look, I'll play DT. I'll play nose tackle. Please let me line up inside.
Yeah, but you know what? Jalen Mayfield, he's still a rookie. So it's like, if I got any bit of sympathy left in me, that's all I got. He's a rookie, right? But Caleb McGarry, what's his excuse?
Oh Lord, no, McGarry can take Mike and Ike and kick rocks. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my goodness, man!
I'm sorry. When he missed on that block, obvious block, okay, obvious pulling guard block, he missed on that, and the play and the protection was perfect. The protection was perfect for what's going on in the situation. And his indication of that is he's right directly in front of the guy. They knowing the guy's going to come through there, and you right there, and you just barely tap move out the way. I'm sitting up here like, dude. Yo, let me tell you something. I don't have no sympathy for that. I'm sorry. Okay, you spent a 3rd round pick on this guy. Okay, he already had to be thrust into starting role, and he does something like that. No, you better not. I better not see his feet grace the ground in a starting situation in 2022. I'm really looking at Arthur Smith.
I got to see what we're up to. Hold on. I'm going to pull up this sys data that tells me how many like blown blocks and all this other jazz. I got to see what Jalen Mayfield. Here we go. All right. For 2021, does anybody want to take a guess on how many blown pass blocks he's had?
100.
Oh no, it ain't that bad.
Man, it's feel like guessing. It's feel like 3rd grade when you got to guess how many jelly beans are in the jar, and like you never win. Okay. Like, I don't even want to guess. All right.
Out of a total of 940 snaps, he has 37 blown pass blocks. A total of 50 blown blocks, pass and run, and a total of 7 penalties.
And how many games are there in a season?
16 so far.
Like,
he got one more to go. He could get that number up some.
That's blown blocks every game. Blocks.
Every game.
Wow. At least 2.
Root 417 says 62. That's close for a total. You ain't far off. Jay Jenkins says 4. You are way off, sir. Way off.
I know my wife sitting there saying, "That boy laughing his butt off out there." I can't hear that, man. That's terrible.
Hold on. We made it to the end. I mean, my thing is like we watched a lot. It was a lot of tough football we watched this year. So it's like you should be able to laugh off some of this stuff.
You got to at some point, right?
Some of this stuff we predicted, and some of this stuff was just beyond our wildest imagination. Like, well, no, actually, I can't really say that. Was any of this outside of our wildest imagination? Because
put that man back at right tackle and let him stay there.
Please.
Exactly. I mean, at this point, I would much rather him be there. Millie Mills wants us to look at Dante Fowler's. I wish there was a stat for missed sacks. Because that's what he's looking for. Let's see what this.
He got a lot of them.
Fowler.
Now I can tell you, there's about 4. He should have had 10 sacks this year, but he unfortunately was Big Beasley.
Yeah.
2.0 in 2021. Because I know about 4 sacks off the rip that he missed. Against the Bills, he had Josh Allen.
Dead
he
right.
Had him. And
I'll say this. This is what's telling. Like, he had 27 pressures and only 4.5 sacks. That's not good. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at for comparison. Let's take a look at T.J. Watt. Right,
Nope. I already know. He's got TJ Watt has more
I know
sacks than the entire Falcons defense.
No.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well,
I'm sorry.
what I'm trying to look at is relation from pressures to sacks is what I'm trying to get at. Okay, here you go. If you want to know how ineptitude Dante Fowler's been, right? You're looking at the league leader, obviously, at 21.5 sacks, probably going to break Strahan's record, even though he missed 2 games. TJ Watt's got 62 pressures. 62. And just so y'all all remember, and nobody got to put it in chat, we could have had him over Tack McKinley.
We could have had him.
That's pain.
Had him in our crosshairs and didn't even just pull the trigger.
Joshua Malavy says, y'all see McGarry and Mayfield crocheting channel yet?
Pottery or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, they got a good pottery channel going.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the ghost.
Yeah. Chris Jameson's over here. Mayfield left his nasty in his mom's craft room. Yeah, he did.
Oh.
Yeah, he did. He went in there, God. He left his nasty and picked up some crochet needles.
Yeah, man.
Because my gosh, man.
Maybe we just need to let Mayfield wear a blue helmet with the little yellow stripes in it, because it's like when he puts on black and red, he loses his superpower. Anyway,
and that's your team. That's your team that you grew up with, right? But that's how you block for your favorite team.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like that block there, that's gonna ride with him for a long time because they're gonna be on that.
Yeah.
Man, you know what, Toby? You sounded like Matt Ryan if they maybe had a few adult beverages and they was talking to him, and like Matt Ryan was really just like, that's supposed to be your team. You know what I mean? This is, you wanted to come here. Didn't you say this was your favorite team? So you wanted to come here and not block for me so that I could get halfway killed. Like, oh man. I
can't believe that, man. When I saw that, I was like, dude. Are you serious right now?
Oh man. Well, I guess we could probably keep doing that all night, but I think we've pretty much covered as much as we're gonna cover. Look, at the end of the day, the Saints is a winnable game, and that's a good way to end this season. Is beat the Saints, keep them from the playoffs, and sweep them for the first time in a while. So that's what I'm really hoping for. You're gonna have to put it on. As always, you're going to shut down the run all the way, and that also means chasing Taysom Hill, and you're going to have to put him in the pocket and make him throw. You do that, and I think you got a chance to win, especially if you can do what you can to get your offense rolling, which has been a tough task at times. But
we have guys coming back off the COVID list, so that's going to help you. You'll feel confident that you can beat the Saints too. I mean, you beat them in their house, and I think you well. I'm hoping. I don't know if Kyle Pitts is going to play or not, but Parker Hesse has stepped up pretty well in his absence. So.
Yeah, and for the folks who are putting in names in the chat, yeah, dude, keep throwing those out, especially underneath the videos, and keep your eye on the website as we continue to add player evaluations to that. Now I got another thing to plug at the end of the show. Yay. So, but I think that does it for us this week. I think that wraps it up quite well. We appreciate all y'all who have joined us today. If you get a chance, go check out poundforpoundatl.com. And like I said, keep your eyes peeled on this channel because we're really getting ramped up on the draft stuff. We always have a lot of fun with the draft. It's a fun time, so we're really about to dive feet first into that stuff, and so keep your eyes peeled there. Same thing with the truck thoughts and all that jazz. Y'all's support there has been awesome. I'm glad y'all are enjoying those little shorts. I enjoy doing them, so it gives me something to do while I'm driving around at work. I'm sure work loves to hear that, but anyway. Y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128. That's GRIMM1128. I'm gonna get your question, Tony. Tony. Toby D, what you got?
Toby D 1991.
Big Mike.
Mike Dub.
Hey, Mike Dub, MIKE_DUB. Appreciate the love always.
Last one. Tony's writes question. He says, fellas, do you think we should spend one of our third round picks on a solid left guard? I think we should do whatever we can to upgrade the line. I've said it before. I want it in free agency, but I'll take it wherever we can get it. But yep.
Absolutely.
Keep yourself peeped on the channel, on the website, all that good fun stuff. And as always, Falcons fans, let's just win, man.
Let's just win.
The last one.
One more
The last
one more for the Gipper. All right. And we're out.